If you do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Anywhere on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all of the time, all of the time, all of the time.
All righty. Welcome to the Tuesday, the May 20th, 2025 edition of the Counter Racist Show, or I should say Neely Fuller's Counter Racist Show. I am one of the co-hosts. My name is Mr. Bobby, and with me as a presenter, there you go, is Gate. Gate, good morning, and how are you?
Good morning, Mr. Bobby. I am still learning, like Mr. Fuller used to say, and I think we're all still learning, and I think we have to remember that at all times, that particularly when you're operating in this system, when you turn off your antennas and your receptors and your ability to learn, things are going to get monumentally worse. So that's my first bit of advice to everyone this morning, is to continue to learn. That never gets old. That never gets old, Mr. Bobby.
No, sir. What's on the agenda for today?
Well, Mr. Bobby, we got a full agenda today. We're going to talk about this race problem. We've been talking about various topics and kind of contextualizing things that are going on. But every now and then we got to come back to the base, to the root. As a matter of fact, I put a question out here. Is racism the root of all evil? When you look at the problems in this society, you look at the things that are going wrong, the things that are hampering, the things that are causing confusion, the things that is causing people to kill each other, hate each other, division, derision, all these different problems. When you do an analysis and you break it down, you keep the common, the usual suspect pops up. And it's this thing called racism. It's called racism, white supremacy, and quite a few other names. But there's so many problems in our lives. And Mr. Fuller, he went on to say that if he felt that if we got rid of race problem, a lot of these other problems would just really just dissipate. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So let folks know how they can get in touch with us, Mr. Bobby. I got to put up a few videos here, so hang on a second. You go ahead and take it over for a minute.
Yeah, that little line is not there. That usually is, but the easiest way.
Let me hear you go.
There we go. The easiest way to get in contact with today's show, you can go to the producejustice.com website, and we're right there. Just click on the buttons, and you'll be right there. You can also go to YouTube at Produce Justice, and you can pick us up there, or Facebook at Produce Justice Neely Fuller Jr. Yeah, those are the 3 ways that you can get in contact or leave a message with the show. And you have to remember that we are efforting to get better, still trying to work the bugs out, still trying to find our way as to what works best for this show. So there are going to be issues along with our usual suspects, which even presented themselves this morning toward us. But
every time
that's the way it goes when you do live radio, or when I was in television, live television. That's just the way that it is. But you learn how to work with it. So we appreciate your comments in the chat, and Gate will read them or either have me read them as they come up. We won't be able to get to all of them, but you can do that. And don't forget, you can also contact me at my Gmail address. It is the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, MRBOBBY at gmail.com, and I will read it. What is that? Sentwalkie? Greetings, still learning. Class is in session now. All right.
Class is now in session. Yes, it is, brother. Yes,
there we go. Khalif Tariq Abdul, top of the morning. Yes, sir, brother. We're there. Top of the morning.
Produce justice.
There you go. Well, I'm just reading as it go. Yo.
Like you said, class is in session. Now we got another comment that says, yes, it is. Racism needs to be replaced by the system of justice, as Mr. Fuller had said. Let me talk about and what we have to do is we have to look at some of these things that are happening in society and run it through the code, through the filter. I was looking down, Mr. Bauer, looking down in the state of Maryland, from which I am broadcasting this morning, and we have a buzz down here. We got some controversy, we got some confusion, we got some going back and forth here on a topic. One of the topics that Mr. Fuller has talked about on occasion, and we did a show on the topic of reparations. The governor of Maryland, Governor Wes Moore, as a matter of fact, he's being vilified and raked over the coals, and in some cases, I guess, heralded by some of the. Matter of fact, I'll tell you exactly what happened. There was the state legislature put forth a vote on the commission to study reparations in the state. And so the Maryland governor, Mr. Wes Moore, vetoed the study put forward by the commission on to study reparations. And he said that this issue has been studied enough, and basically almost like many folks have said, it's time to get to work. So that has caused all kind of, I mean, I've looked online, there's people going back and forth, there's people taking this side, some people agreeing with him, saying, hey, we've done enough talk, let's get to work. Some people are saying he's sold out, he's turned his back. People was starting to look at state as the new Wakanda because we had a black governor, and he was doing all this progressive legislation. So this has confused people. Well, I tell you what I think, Mr. Bob. Let me give you Gates' take on this.
Okay.
Well, let's look at this. This going to fall under the area of activity as politics, and that's why I say whenever we get lost, we have to go back and play the tape. And as a matter of fact, we're going to play that tape again before we get out of here, about what Mr. Fuller said about racism, and that when you don't understand what's going on, everything is going to confuse you. So what's happening in the state of Maryland, I detect some political posturing going on. That's what I think. I don't know what's in Governor Wes Moore's heart. I don't know what his political ambitions are, but I do know that anybody in these United States who openly espouse reparations for Black people, they have about a 0 chance of getting in the White House.
Yeah.
That's just about like I said, that's not political talk. That's reality. And so if Mr. Moore has any plans or aspirations of being president of the United States, he probably did what he has to do, because people waiting on him. They knew that bill was coming. This could have been like a Bill Clinton Sister Soldier moment, or what Gavin Newsom was doing out in California. So at some point, if you're trying to get into the White House, you have to do certain things, and that's just the dirty side of politics. So if you plan to be the president of the United States, he probably did what he had to do, whether you like it or not. Now, if he plans to be the president of Black people, and according to his evidence, that's not his plans, then that's another story. So my point is, this is just another political play that anytime you start seeing people making these kind of bold proclamations that kind of goes against the grain. Now, this is Gates' take. This is my BGQ. Is that Mr. Wes Moore, his heart could be in one place, but he could be facing the realities of what it takes to get to the White House in these United States. Now, that's just my take on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, what you say, I'm pretty sure that there is some evidence that you have to support that statement that you made, and being that you are there and can see what's going on about that. Yeah, I could see where that just might, be the case. But that's not unusual, because in this system of racism, white supremacy, we are deliberately left in the dark, so to speak, on different issues. And some people want to gain access to the power, but never realizing that with the present system, they will never get that power, because the narrative is to exclude us. And so you have all this stuff going on, but it's still wrong. It's still wrong. But that's why we have to continually expose what is going on and dismantle the system that justice can be. And we already know what Mr. Fuller said that justice is, being the guaranteeing that all people be treated equally, and that those who need the most constructive help get it.
Mr. Bobby, as a matter of fact, let's hear it from the words of the master educator himself.
What is justice? Guaranteeing that no person is mistreated, and guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help.
Now think about justice in a broader sense. Just think about justice as you meander your day-to-day lives. If you're walking down the street and you see one person over here saying I need a ride because my car broke down, and another person on the other side of the road saying I can hardly walk because my legs have gangrene and I got diabetes. Well, as much as that person's car broke down may be problematic for him, he may have a difficult time getting to work. But the person with the no legs, he needs the most help. He needs help the most. So justice says, make it guaranteeing, first of all, that nobody's mistreated. And the second part of that is that guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most, get the most constructive help.
Most constructive help.
That's right. So I think as we go through our daily lives and we look at some of the things we see in the news, some of the things that we encounter on the way to work, some of the things we see on the job, justice is hard. Justice is hard. It's not easy.
Especially with the system the way that it is, that slants toward those that are in power. Here's a comment from Nicolette. She says that so glad the question raised an awareness to the true issue than money. Racist attacks is always the root other saying led to the racist monopolize of human capital. As Mr. Fuller was educating in now, I know last year was words that are used to build racism. All kinds of tools. And you have to be aware of that and stay focused on or be codified. Why? Because everything you see, but since there is no justice, is a design disaster, or distraction. It's a distraction. And we get caught up in that distraction, believing that it's real, while those that pursue the money or pursue the power or wealth or whatever it is continually get by with impunity.
There you go. Well, Mr. Bobby, the thing we're going to talk about today. Yeah, one more quick thing that's going on in the news. Down in the state of Florida, down in the Sunshine State, there's been a FAMU, Florida A&M University, has a new president, and she is a friend of Ron DeSantis. And Mr. DeSantis, the governor, he's been a foe of justice. He has been hell-bent on whitewashing history. He actually declared war on wokeness, and we know wokeness is a code term for them. They pretty much declared war on CRT. And so this person who's been appointed by DeSantis, the black lady, is now president of FAMU, one of the most esteemed and most recognized HBCU, historically Black college and university in the country. So once again, you go back and look, this falls under the area of education. Now, Mr. Fuller was a smart man. Notice, Mr. Bobby, that we look at these items in the news, and he talked about the 9 areas of activity.
Yeah.
He talked about if most of these problems, you can go back and look at the book, and he addressed them, and he wrote it in a way that you can apply it to what's happening in today's world. He said the white supremacists have a code, and that non-white people need a code as well. And that's why he wrote the book. He wrote 3 books. Matter of fact, he wrote the original book in 1984. Then he wrote a word guide in 2010. Then he wrote the expanded revised edition in 2016. And if you want to get the books, go to producejustice.com and you'll see the books on the homepage. You can also follow the show by going to the homepage of producejustice.com. If you don't have social media, or if you can just go to the homepage, it's right there, right on the second. As soon as you get to the homepage, just scroll down the screen a bit, you'll see the show broadcasting live on the homepage. Also, if you have Facebook, you can get the show there. You can also get the show by going to YouTube. And recently, we've added the show by going to by Instagram. So we have different ways to get this show out here. And we invite you also, if you're watching us from YouTube, please like the show and share this show with others. And also participate. You can participate by putting in your comments. And at some point, we also have ways that you can join the show. If you go to producejustice.com, up at the top, you'll see a link that says how to get on the show. And we want you to do that. We would love for you to get on the show. And you can do that by sending us a pre-recorded video with your questions and comments. Or you can send us your email address and tell us what day, what topic you'd like to discuss on the show. And we will send you a link. And you'll be sitting right up here on this show with Mr. Bobby and myself. So I look forward to that brave soul to go ahead and jump in here and jump up here on the show with us. Mr. Bobby, our topic today is the race problem. And is this race problem the underlying problem of what's wrong with this society? Matter of fact, I put in a phrase that many people can relate to. Is racism the root of all evil? Now, those are not Mr. Fuller's words. Those are my words that I took a popular quote. And I said, what does code say about this? So let's hear from Mr. Fuller himself on this topic of how dominant this racism problem is.
It's what we call loosely the race issue. Because if the race issue, by whatever definition you want to give it, is the key to solving all other problems. You solve that problem, and I have a slang expression that if you solve the race problem, all the other problems in the world you can solve on your day off.
Wow.
Now, that might be, sort of a comic quip, if you want to look at it that way. But is that really the truth? And it probably is, because there are other problems other than the race problem. But you're definitely not going to solve these other problems, the conclusion I came to many, many decades ago, without solving the race problem. Why? Because that's the one that if you're a person of color, and that's whom this program is addressing, on planet Earth, if you're not talking about or thinking about or making some kind of plans for dealing with, if you want to use that expression, the race problem, you don't have a plan for dealing with anything. Because the color of your skin says that you're a target. That's right out of the womb, or even before coming out of the womb. Now, that's either true or false. Now, that's what this program is about.
Well, you heard it from him. Now that was pretty powerful, Mr. Bobby. Mr. Fuller said, if you solve the race problem. All the other problems of the world could be solved on your day off.
Yeah. Your question at the top here, and we're into exposing the truth. You said, is racism the root of all evil? And the answer to that is no. Racism is not, N-O-T, is not the root of all evil. And I can prove that by this. They're saying that the love of money is the root of all evil. The love of money is the root of all evil is a common saying that has been interpreted many ways throughout the history and across different cultures. It is often linked to 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10, a passage in the Bible that states, for the love of money is the root of all evil, all kinds of evils. This doesn't necessarily mean money itself is evil, but rather that the unhealthy desire for wealth and the pursuit of it can lead to unethical and harmful actions, which we see today. So racism is a symptom of the lust that we have for that money, and it goes out into every area of human activity in which Mr. Fuller has clearly stated. Every single one. The bottom line, since that question is there, to be truthful about it, is racism the root of all evil? No, it's just a symptom of that desire that people have for money because they love money more than they love anything else and will do anything to get that money.
Well, let me throw a twist in that.
Okay.
So you have money, but who in this system has the most money? And how did they get that money?
Yes.
Was it bequeathed upon them by the creator? No. What they did, they instituted a system, worldwide system.
Yes.
Which was responsible for that accumulation of vast wealth.
Yes.
And so it's almost, you get to almost which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Yes.
Did money come first, or did the racism come first?
It's an unhealthy desire for it that people will do anything. And you are correct, Gate. They have developed systems that will forward the money to them and discriminate against other people. And they know it now. And it is so obvious now because things are going unchecked to guide money toward programs and things that we're not privy to. It's unhealthy. That's why you see all these cuts. Where's that money going to? It's going to those who have contributed to the dominant party that's in charge right now at the expense of those who are losing jobs and benefits. Somebody indicated that Medicare has cut or Social Security is being dealt with and all that kind of thing in an incorrect or unjust way. But that is what you have to expect when the system has not been dismantled. It's going to happen, and it's going to get worse.
Wow, I like that feedback. So I'm going to leave the question out there. I think Mr. Fuller, he laid down some code. I think that's like most code is subject to interpretation. He said if we get rid of the race problem, then the rest of the problems can be solved on your day off. He didn't say whether it was root of all evil was definitely not one of his terms. I'm putting that out there kind of to get the conversation going. I got a question here from Jay Baggs. He asked if any of us have seen the movie Sinners, and if so, would you interpret it as codified from a codified perspective? Jay Baggs, I'm going to say, unfortunately, I have not seen the movie. I've heard a lot about it. What about you, Mr. Bobby? Have you seen the movie Sinners?
I've seen snippets of it. And then when they got into this stuff about vampires and all that kind of stuff, I just said, yeah. You know, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I am going to watch it though, because it's anything that have that much conversation going on and everybody seems to be talking about it. I'm going to make it an effort. Maybe this weekend I'm going to go watch the movie because, like Mr. Fuller did, and I'm by no means trying to replace Mr. Fuller. He actually had a movie list on his website, and he may have, if he was still around, he may have watched it and added to his list. But he likes to look at these movies and look for the message. He talked about the Goodfellas. He talked about Saving Private Ryan. He talked about Shawshank Redemption, some movie you would have never thought it would be on Mr. Fuller's list. But he was looking for the message. So you can go to producejustice.com and look through that list and check out some of those movies. I talked about a couple of them on this show. I talked about Godfather about a month ago, man. They were running it on a loop, seemed like every day. And then most recently, they had Saving Private Ryan going on. And when you look at it, you keep going back to Mr. Fuller's one of his famous quotes about run it through the prism of what is white supremacy. Let's talk about this race problem a little bit more. Mr. Fuller said, and by his own admission, this racism, this race problem is a tough nut to crack. It's hard. In other words, let's just hear his words again on how he felt about this particular problem.
Who are the smartest people in the known universe? Who they are? You can point them out. Put your hand on their shoulder. And why haven't these smartest people solved the race problem, the biggest problem on the planet? Dr. Christopher Edley, if I'm quoting him correctly, of Columbia University, said, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't have the exact words in front of me, the race problem is not rocket science. It's harder than rocket science. And for the average person, rocket science is pretty hard. It calls for some people who are really smart, from what I understand, from what I've been told. You can't be a lazy brain person. You have to have a brain that really works at its maximum to be what you call a rocket scientist, a rocket scientist. That you have to do a whole lot of serious thinking. You can't be so-so. You better be A+ to be a rocket scientist. A rocket scientist. You better have a brain that really works. Well, if Dr. Christopher Edley said, yeah, if you're going to solve the race problem, it's harder than rocket science. So we're talking about the smartest people now. Who are the smartest people on the planet? And why haven't they solved the race problem that has been around for some time? And let the smartest people step forward and answer that question. Now, I got my theory about who they are and why they haven't solved it. But that's my theory. But I don't want to present that, what my theory is.
Okay. According to Mr. Fuller, it's harder than rocket science. Is it that hard, Mr. Bobby?
Well, yeah, because one would have to self-examine, themselves and find out, as he asked the 4 questions, the 4 ones on page 172 of the 2016 a bit. What do you want to do? Why do you want to do it? How do you plan to do it, and what constructive results that you want from it? And in my opinion, Gabe, most people that I've encountered, including myself at one time, are selfish. We want what we want when we want it. We don't want to do what somebody else says or what the creator says. So the results of choosing or electing to do what you want to do has its consequences, which this was a symptom. Racism was born out of that. and you see that it has progressively gotten worse, and it's going to progressively getting worse, because you know that there was a time when you could distinguish right from wrong. But now, because of the word C word, confusion, they're making it very difficult for those who don't know what is right and what is wrong. Wrong has become right and right has become wrong. It's very confusing. Or as he puts it with men and women, the sexes, the white man's anus is the new vagina and all that stuff. That's confusing. How can procreation come from doing something like that? And they have rights now. You got to be careful what you say, because they could label you whatever labels that they put on it. So you have to be careful. You really do. It's crazy out here for those of us who are seasoned and came up under a different system.
Mr. Bullock, I was looking at Produce Justice say, I guess he agreed that it's hard. He said ending racism is like herding cats. Produce Justice, that's a very colorful way of putting it. Now, we have a couple of folks in the green room. I'm not sure if you wanted to come on the screen with your questions. I see Nicolette. If so, you can wave. I also see Theodore Lush. If you want to come on screen, wave your hand, and we'll let you come on here and ask your question.
Yeah, Gumptown. Yeah, Theodore.
Theodore, we about to put you on the screen and welcome you to the stage. Theodore, what's on your mind this morning? Make sure your microphone is working.
Yeah. Go ahead, Teddy.
We see you. We see you, brother. Uh-oh, camera's freezing up there.
Yeah, you see how the usual suspects are in play right there?
Yeah, we're going to take you out for a minute. Your camera froze up. We're going to try you again a little later, okay? You might move to a different part of the room, do something different.
Is Nicolette still there?
Nicolette, you want to come on screen? Uh-oh, Nicolette, like, yep. All right, here's Theodore. Try it again.
Yeah.
Okay, like we lost. All right, Theodore.
That's Nicolette. Okay. That's we're still learning. That's part of that's part of it. Is that you, Nicolette? Go ahead, girl.
I was saying that a lot of things, the racism, I said I was glad that you use it differently, because I feel like that was the end of, now that I know, that was the end of Mr. Fuller's work, teaching us about the wordplay and the codifying the words, like how people always say money is the root of all evil. I was saying that it is racism that creates the money through human capital. To me, it's not, money is not the evil. I think that's something that people use to keep people in a crab bucket mindset, so that we would never try to help the other people. Because we always say the more money you get, it'll make you fearful, and then always depending on somebody else to provide you a source to get money, versus you being self-sufficient to create your own commerce and money, as the Black Wall Street so eloquently taught us many years ago.
Yeah. So, hey, Nicolette, just to be clear, money in and of itself is not the root of all evil, but the love of it is. Got to focus in on the love. That is where it gets sidetracked, because it goes in all kinds of directions.
But as you were saying, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be rude, but as you were saying earlier about the way Neely Fuller was telling us about codify, all I was saying was, yes, money is there within that root, but it's power. And I think in this generation of time, the way we understood things when we was coming up, being half of a century now, when your parents says, do as I say, not as I do, we really believed that and was scared of that. But to me, in the real action of what's going on now, these kids, they have to see that you do and you talk what you talk. So if we therefore cultivated as Neely Fuller was saying, that we cultivate, and Dr. Wilson and other great teachers, Mr. Amos, they were saying, if you enrich yourself richly inside, then money, when you give money, you'll understand how to treat the money, and it won't be a root of evil amongst you.
And you know what? That's true. And not only that, and that's a very good point. When you get money, as using Mr. Fuller, you have to know what money is and how does it work. And one of the things that you have to understand or do is, instead of a person working for money, you have to learn, still learning, how to make money work for you. Because if you don't, you will become indentured to it or a slave to it.
Well, right. And then lastly, before y'all cut me off, lastly, I just want to say, you made a good point again. Indentured slaves that came from the British colonies, who was the royal subjects. So their mindset and the way that they weaponized themselves with words was brought to a new country as a weapon to make sure that they stay royal. And then lastly, when we were saying about, Neely Fuller had brought this up on a couple times on his show, when he was saying the richest black people can't even make a difference. Why? I feel like, in my knowledge, is the source of where the money came from. Because if the source, that's what bonds a lot of people, is the source. And that's, to me, the things that's out of control and people blaming people. No, it's the weaponization of the money that caused corruption and legislation and other courts and everything, because of the backhands and the back door of, and lastly, and I just said this on the Washington Journal today, 501c3s, when that changed over 10 years ago and started giving people, if they latched on to governmental grants and governmental entities, it gave those 501c3, mostly churches in our community, the power to a retirement plan, because now they was a part of the government, which caused a lot of corruption to deal with people not being able to meet, being able to spiritually rise above dogmatic religion and actually position themselves in a codified life. That's just my opinion.
That's right. They introduced confusion. You see why She's going to be a lawyer?
Nicolette is always on point. Now, I'm going to engage Nicolette for a second and go back to what you said, Mr. Bobby. And that's really a little debate here, and I'm glad to introduce it. As I was stating earlier, that when I put the question out there, is racism the root of all evil? I was doing it in a way to kind of bait the question, because it has been conventional wisdom that money, or the desire of money, or avarice, is actually the root of all evil. But I know, and you, Mr. Bobby, also, and of course, Mr. Fuller, understand that how that money get to where it is and whose hand it got into in the first place. And when you go back and trace back the root of white supremacy, racism, and you start looking at how that money was accumulated, the money that I have in my pocket has been dispensed in most cases. It didn't come, even though my dad was a sharecropper and he worked the soil, that big hand of white supremacy is always there. And they have, and I don't like to give them omnipotent power, but if you don't understand it, what it is and how it works, everything is going to confuse you, including whether or not money is the root of all evil, or white supremacy and racism is the root of all evil. What I'm going to do is play another quick clip. And this is what Mr. Fuller also liked, and that's why we don't argue among each other. We shouldn't argue among each other, because according to Mr. Fuller, he coined this phrase.
DJQ, according to the compensatory code, which is what I do, means victims guaranteed qualification. Now, what does that mean? It's something I made up. Victims guaranteed qualification. And it means if you are a victim, if you consider yourself to be a victim of the system of white supremacy, you are qualified, just by being a victim, to say anything that you want to say, anything that you think should be said about race, racism, or counter-racism, and no one should step forward and say you're not qualified to talk about it. And you're a victim of it. If you're a victim of an evil, you're qualified to say anything that you want to say, or feel compelled to say, or just choose to say about race, racism or counter-racism. Counter-racism means you're against racism. You're qualified. So anybody who steps forward and says, you're not qualified to talk about that, that's not true.
But what I like about that statement, Mr. Bobby and Nicole, is that there's part of this confusion effort by the racists is to get us bickering among each other.
Exactly. Distraction.
Yeah, that's right. Distraction, dividing us up in these little camps, you know, red state, blue state, Republican, Democrat, AKA, Delta, Baptist, Methodist, you name it. But he is saying that regardless, whichever camp you fall into, you are a victim and you are entitled to say what you have to say on this topic. Doesn't mean I'm going to agree with it, but I'm telling you, and that's why I'm looking at the comments that's coming in, and they're all over the place. And one day we're going to have a way we can get these. It's impossible to read every comment coming across the screen, but we've been picking out some. But what we're trying to do is do like Nicolette or Nicole, whatever you like to be called, Nicole, is to get on the screen, send us your email, and we will send you the link. We'll put you in the green room, and if we get to you, we'll put you on the screen today. We've coronated Nicolette today as our guest host, and so feel free to continue to chime in on the different topics. Nicolette, we're glad to have you this morning. I remember you from the when we were on Blog Talk.
That's right.
You were very vocal and brought in some very good points. And I'm actually proud and honored to have you joining us this morning. I'm going to put up another quote from Mr. Fuller. And also, like I said, I appreciate everybody who's tuning in from all over the world. If you on YouTube, by all means, like the video, share the channel, make sure you subscribe. And we're trying to build this platform as a forum where we can talk about
exactly
this problem, this system that is so endemic.
And you know what, Gabe? See, here's the thing about this. Everybody don't have to like us, and they don't have to, and it's okay. You can express yourself, as to what you feel. Some people get, they can't take it when somebody doesn't agree with them, but it's not about that. It's about staying focused, rooting out the confusion, and listening and learning what we must do to dismantle this system in all areas of people activity.
All right. Let's remind everyone, Mr. Fuller's, I have to play, I think I'm just going to have to play this every show we have. It will remind people what is white supremacy and what is racism.
All people of color come under the system of white supremacy. Anybody who has color in his or her skin and is classified as non-white, you're automatically subject to the system of white supremacy. Why? The system of white supremacy is the dominant government on planet Earth. What is the system of white supremacy? It means those white people who believe in dominating and mistreating people of color are the dominant species on planet Earth, either directly or indirectly. They have power over them in all areas of activity. Dominant how? Well, you got 9 areas of activity.
9 areas of activity, and those absolutely. 9. Go ahead, Mr. Bobby.
No, I was going to say absolutely. He's right. In all those areas, they are dominant. Again, that's why it has to be dismantled. And I'm glad that he has the books that we can get by going to producejustice.com that we can use as a reference to further our understanding of the code so that we will not be confused by all these distractions. And they are distractions, from terrorists to the Homeland Security people and all that stuff, the dismantling of programs that were designed to help people. They're all distractions to keep us from knowing what's really going on. And then, like you said earlier, we get distracted by going into all that foolishness and further away from what is going on.
We're discussing today, we're going back down to the base, to the foundation why Mr. Fuller wrote his books, and he was bent on dismantling the system of white supremacy and replacing it with a system of justice. In this wise, he wrote 3 books. We call them the code books, and the United Compensatory Counter-Racist Code book, and he did the word guide to make sure we're speaking the right language. And one of the things that he said, and we got somebody who called into the show over at Blog Talk a few years ago, and they basically said that, well, I'm not going to put their words in their mouth. Let's just something about the people that have the will don't want to do it, and the people that want to do it don't have the resources. Let me just let them put it in their own words.
Mr. Fuller, I was reading in the compensatory code book under the area of politics. You wrote that according to the evidence and based on compensatory counter-racist logic, the tragic arrangement is the result of the lack of the will of white people and the lack of the ability of non-white people to do what's necessary to replace the system of white supremacy with the system of justice. Mr. Fuller, is it easier to develop the will to replace the system, or is it easier to develop the abilities to replace the system of white supremacy with justice?
Well, you have to have the will to get the ability. If you're going to ride a bicycle, you have to want to ride the bicycle. The bicycle's just sitting there. You're looking at the bicycle. But you sit there and just look at it and look at it and look at it and never get on it. You have to have the will to get up off the curb and walk over to the bicycle and get on the bicycle. You have to have a will to do that. Now, when you get on it, if you've never been on one, you're going to maybe fall a couple of times. So you have to be real cautious. And just like a baby getting out of a crib or learning to walk, you learn the bicycle the same way, how to ride. The baby falls down trying to walk and cries about it, but the baby tries again. The baby has to have the will to do that. Same way with solving the race problem.
There you have it. The people that have the will and the people that have the ability, they've got to work together, because apparently many people have the will to change the race problem, but they don't have the ability. The ability falls on the shoulders of the racists who have the power. Now, we can go out here and fight and march and carry on, but until we get those people that have the ability to change, we're gonna have an uphill battle. What say you, Mr. Bobby?
Yeah, I mean, we're in that now, and the way that I see things now, as I'm becoming more and more seasoned, is that this stuff is a distraction, but we believe in it. Just like looking at a musician who pulls a rabbit out of the hat, but guess what? The rabbit was never in the hat. But we believe the illusion because we saw somebody up there doing it. So you see this stuff out here and you believe that stuff is real. It has consequences, but it's not real. It's designed, the narrative is designed to distract you and hide from what's really going on. Like the two governments, there's the visible government and there's an invisible government. So you think the visible government is the one that's really happening. No, it's being undergirded by the invisible government with all this stuff going on. You ever heard of black ops and programs that are even blacker than the black ops? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Surveillance and all that kind of stuff that's going on. Come on, man.
Yes, sir. Now, what we like to do, somebody said it, I don't know if it was Produce Justice, Still Learning, one of the people a couple of weeks ago, is like, what is the call to action? What are we going to do? We're going to sit here and talk about it and not do anything. Well, Mr. Fuller, he was also an action. He wasn't just a talker. He was a prolific speaker and orator and author and many other nice adjectives I like to put in front of his name, but he was also a person that he said thought, speak, and action. So I'm going to let you. I'm going to, before we get out of here, I'm going to put one more quote up from Mr. Fuller, and he kind of said the answer is pretty simple if people would just accept it, and that's the problem. The folks that have the ability are not accepting what has to happen to make this problem go away. Let me put this final quote up of Mr. Fuller for the day.
Hello, Mr. Fuller. How exactly is countering racism going to persuade the white supremacists to produce justice or kill us all?
By us, what we do. We keep saying things. A lot of white supremacists are really upset, a lot of white people, doing something I've been asking black people to do. Learn how to use words when you're talking to white people. Now, it took me decades, to get people to say, rather than brag about black people and Black History Month and all like that, start telling the truth about what the relationship is on a daily basis and as far back as when white supremacy began. Just tell the truth about it. A few people, apparently, directly or indirectly, must have gotten that message either from me or somebody else. Doesn't matter who it came from, if it's the truth. Just start telling the truth about the relationship between white people and black people each and every day. What is the real relationship? And so when a few black people start doing that, rather than pretending that it ain't there, all right, and they call it CRT, or being woke, and white people start getting upset about it. Why? Because it's the truth. That's why.
That's right.
Mr. Bobby, that is so profound. So let's go back.
Right.
Let me circle back around to what was happening down in Florida, where the governor, Ron DeSantis, just appointed this black lady to be head of the esteemed FAMU, Florida A&M University. And she's a friend of DeSantis, and DeSantis is one of those people who are allergic to the truth. He has been anti-woke, anti-CRT, and he is one of those folks that Mr. Fuller is talking about. He's not going to tell the truth. And they use those lies and confusion to perpetuate this system. And so when you see these things happening in the news, like what's happening down in Florida, they don't happen in the vacuum. What you have to do is to run them through the code. Mr. Fuller, he just laid it out very clearly. They're not telling the truth. They're using lies and deception to perpetuate a system that's a global system, and we are prisoners of war in that system.
Exactly. Let me do four things, but really it'd be three. Anybody that knows the whereabouts of the extermination man, the last report we got, he was in Chicago. He was a man, gay, and you probably heard him. He came on when Fuller and I was on the Talktainment Radio, and he would come on with his predictions. And I last heard he was in Chicago someplace. But anybody that knows the whereabouts of the extermination man and his messages, have him get in contact with producejustice.com and the show so we can have him on. Number two, you might want to check out the Black Angels, not the rock group, but the Black Angels, who were what they did in terms of tuberculosis. And what it exposes was what those nurses did to help those patients who had tuberculosis. I think it was in New York, Seaview Hospital or something like that. And what they did, risking their lives to help save people, black or white, who had tuberculosis. As a matter of fact, their efforts were responsible for the cure of tuberculosis. But now under this current system, that even might be challenged. Three, but Gate, I don't know if you heard this, but and I did look it up, just like I looked at the Black Angels on tuberculosis. But Marjorie Taylor Greene, I couldn't believe I looked up. She's calling for Derek Chauvin to be pardoned. she said, and I couldn't believe it. She said that George Floyd's death was caused by a drug overdose. Now you seen that dude you seen it on TV, where he almost had his knee on his neck for almost 9 minutes. Yeah, 9 minutes, and the coroner said that that's what he died from. But she's part of that other movement that wants to see Chauvin, being pardoned. And lastly, the Pope. You know, the Pope has some Creole nations in him, or a mixed race in him, which is called misogyny, European, African, and Native Indigenous people. Those are black folks. Yeah, the Pope is like that. Yeah.
Wow. What do you
think? So now, don't believe what I say. Look, research it, look it up, so that you can see for yourself. Please.
It's gonna be interesting. Well, let me tell you, folks. What I like to do is let everybody know that we're not just up here to talk. We're here to help fight this system, this global system that has such an impact on our lives. Whenever you see something in the news, whenever you see something online, run it through the prism, run it through the filter of white supremacy, the code that Mr. Fuller so eloquently laid out for us. And also, you can get the book by going to producejustice.com. And we'll be broadcasting this show again next week, as we do every Tuesday at 9 a.m. We invite you to join us. If you want to get on the show, go to producejustice.com and follow those instructions. We laid it out for you. Want to thank Nicole for joining us this morning. Also want to thank Theodore. He said he's going to work on his communications and come back. And so we look forward to seeing you next week. Any final words, Mr. Bobby?
No, just stay focused and don't believe the distractions.
All right, folks. We'll see you next week. And in the meantime, enjoy your day. Let's go out here and fight some. Let's instill some justice wherever you find yourself today.
That's
see
right.
you next week.
If you do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Anywhere on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all of the time, all of the